Courage is being scared to death, but saddling up anyway. That John Wayne quote stuck with me so much over the years that I even had it printed on my coffee cup at home. The Duke always faced down his fears, always won in the end. But as I hid backstage at Philadelphia's First Union Center, I didn't feel much like saddling up at all. As a matter of fact, I was so terrified of what was about to happen that I began puking in the sink in front of me. What am I doing here? I thought to myself between heaves. The biggest professional night of my life, and I was alone, in full tuxedo, having a Tony Soprano-like panic attack in an empty shower room. By my time, the main event was next, and I knew I would soon have to leave my hideout and go before the world. 20,000 in attendance and millions watching at home was a scenario that I had dreamed about as a boy and worked hard to achieve as a man. But this night, it terrified me. WrestleMania 15, March 28, 1999, was, at that point, the biggest night in our business. World Wrestling Federation was on fire, and its two top stars, Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, two of my all-time most memorable signees, had independently lobbied management for me to return and announce their main event match. Their stratospheric professional rise intersected starkly with my own personal low. While Austin and The Rock were demolishing box office records and pay-per-view buy rates, I had been off TV for a few months after suffering a devastating family bereavement and my second bout of Bell's palsy. Because of the resulting facial paralysis, I had been primarily working from home as I wanted as few people as possible to see the way I now looked. This grand entrance back to pay-per-view was going to be my first time anyone other than my close family and friends would see me. I was vulnerable, self-conscious, and sick with worry. The paralysis affected my speech, and I had no idea if I could still do the job I loved the way that I loved to do it. As much as I wanted to return Austin and Rock's faith in me, I certainly didn't feel ready. Not one little bit. I made my living from telling stories as a commentator, coloring in with words that the audience was seeing in pictures. How could I do that when I had to literally hold one side of my face up to help me enunciate, to simply be understood? As my time drew closer, I couldn't help feeling that this was all a huge mistake. I just wanted to run out of there, to make my way home where I knew I could hide or avoid people if I wanted to. I wanted to find Vince McMahon, the chairman and owner of the company, so I could tell him that I couldn't do it. But to admit such a thing would be admitting weakness, and the chairman detested weakness and negativity from anyone around him. McMahon believed in the old law of the jungle, that only the strong survive, much like my father had instilled in me as a boy. So I left the shower room and walked to the busy corridor with my head down. I tried to block out the sounds and the noises coming from the packed arena. I was merely hoping to get through my performance without stinking up the joint. I didn't want to embarrass myself, my family, my company, or the two superstars who had requested my presence on their biggest night. And I didn't want to disappoint Vince. Everyone was expecting the good old JR that they'd come to know. But I knew that version of me that was walking to the curtain wasn't what people remembered.